So there, it is what it is.
Morning.
Let's begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning. Welcome, everybody. It is December 29th. Feels like it's been a very long time since we've all been here. And so this is the Shawnee County Board of County Commissioners, if you've forgotten where you're at. On my left is Commissioner Bill Rippon, representing District 1, and on my right is Commissioner Kevin Cook, representing District 2. Good morning to both of you. Good morning. Madam Clerk, first item, please.
First item is item 3, consent agenda.
We've got quite a few items on the consent agenda. Want to draw your attention specifically to item J. Those are all the contracts that we approved last week. This is basically just approving the payment. If there's no questions or objections, I would move for approval.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner May, seconded by Commissioner Cook. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Next item, please.
Item 4, new business A, County Clerk number 1, consider all voucher payments.
Okay, vouchers of interest under bridge project, Shannon P. Golden, totaling $26,000, is for right-of-way easement for Southeast Barrington Road culvert projects. Under federal grant paid with shuttered venue funds, Simon's Industry, Inc., $48,542 is for upgrade to fire alarm system at Stormont Vale Event Center. Under Park Administration, paid with ARPA and SLFRF funds, Chance Rides Manufacturing, Inc., $97,500 is for 15% progress billing for Gage Park Mini Train. Under Sheriff, Lexipol LLC, $26,113.75 is for annual law enforcement manuals and training bulletins. Total vouchers as of December 28, 2022, $669,511.90. If there's no questions or comments, I would move for approval of the vouchers.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Rippon, seconded by Commissioner Cook. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Next item, please.
Item A2, consider correction orders.
I'll move approval.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Mays, seconded by Commissioner Rippon. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Next item.
Item A3, consider authorization and execution of contract C410-2022 with Willis Towers Watson Midwest, Inc. for Shawnee County's 2023 insurance coverage. And Commissioners, this is the annual renewal of our insurance, and just for remind the public, this insurance includes our property insurance, which is commercial equipment and crime, our boiler and machinery, automobile, above-ground storage tank, excess work comp, special liability for our 911 communications towers, flood insurance, professional liability for our health department, and volunteer workers' comp for both our emergency management and our sheriff's department. So that's just a brief overview of what we have. We've of course, had discussions with our representatives from Willis Towers Watson, and the news has not been pleasant this year. We know that. We had kind of ridden a tidal wave for a couple years, and when everybody else was getting hit, and this is our year. I will introduce Mr. Kent Miller from Willis Towers Watson. He will be up here to give you just an overview to the general public of what we're facing, and where, if you have answer any questions for the commission.
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Kent Miller, and I work for WTW as for many years with the county. And I work with a team in Kansas and across the country that specializes in municipality business. Over the last, I'd say, 3 years, the insurance industry has experienced some pretty drastic rate increases over for all lines for various reasons, from claim history to loss problems within the industry, as well as rising rates on liability claims, as well as rising costs on properties with the lack of property, inflation, and so forth. We got a really good deal a few years ago when we moved to Intact and saved a considerable amount of money from Travelers. And that company was trying to pull out last year. We forced their hands to stay in for one more year, and they are completely out of the municipality business as of 8 months ago, and bankrupt that section of the company. So now when we go back and look at the other carriers that would have options to write the county and the municipalities, you're seeing a little bit of a pretty big shift in pricing of what has been done and been carrying forward for the last several years. It's finally catching up with the county here in Kansas. When we went out and marketed the account, we marketed to over 80 different companies from coast to coast looking for different options and different packages. And what you see in front of you is the most aggressive program that we could put together at this point in time. There's really only a handful of carriers that would do businesses such as, municipalities of your size and in the Midwest. And we have clearly identified those and also checked above and beyond many, many different options from that standpoint. And I believe that I think we've chatted with each one of you commissioners individually. But prior to this meeting, I'm here to answer any questions on that or discuss any other options that you guys may want to entertain.
Any questions?
Mr. Chairman. Let's start with, what exactly does Willis Towers Watson do for Shawnee County?
Of course. WTW is the brokerage firm, and we represent probably 120 different, actually all companies, but approximately 120 different insurance carriers out there. And then we are the intermediary or the broker that places coverage for the county. We also run analytics. We do all different types of consulting agreements with you guys. We run the claims when a claim happens, and we package the program together in the most efficient manner.
So when you look at coverage, are you looking at everything from workers' compensation to automobile to property and liability, just a whole bundle?
Correct.
And when you're looking at companies, are you looking at one company that is able to take on all of those different aspects, or do you look at, we might be able to have one company handle this part, one company handle that part?
We look at we've tried to package this thing in the most effective way. If we could get everything bundled up into one company, we would do that. We've also looked at them handling them individually. So, when we take something out to market, and of course we took this program out to market, we look at packaging them individually, we look at packaging them together, we look at co-insurance, we look at all the different ways that this program could come together. And we've gotten a few different options for you, and the most efficient program is here in front of you.
When does Willis Towers Watson begin the process of looking at the renewal packet and the new insurance for the next year?
We operate on what we call Broking 365. So we're looking at this all year round. So we knew Intact was not going to be in business for you guys for this next year. So we already started working a little over a year ago, already working on different options. We approached Travelers, and Travelers was interested. Chubb was interested. We had another carrier that I can't think off the top of my head that was interested. And then as the year progressed, the municipality business got tighter and tighter. And then, as you know, we had a large hurricane that hit the south in the Florida region and complicated things even more, called Ian. And when that happened, you have to understand that, again, there's only half a dozen carriers out there that would look at you guys right now, legitimately would look at you guys. And when that happened, when they go back to their reinsurance model companies, because all insurance companies have reinsurance, and those reinsurance guys started sitting on the sidelines because the bond rates started going up, and they could get more money on a less volatile piece of business and just sit and invest money. So they put less capital into the business for such as Travelers and Chubb and those insurance companies.
So one of the frustrating things with today's item It's December the 29th.
Yes.
Last meeting of the year. This proposal is a $1 million nearly increase over last year. If approved, which I assume it will be because we have no other option and we need to have insurance, we've already blown the 2023 budget before the year's even begun. And this would have been something that would have been beneficial for us when we were putting together the budget in August, July, May, April, even going back to March. I mean, we start sending packets out to our department heads beginning in March and April, looking at the next year. And so here we are caught at the last meeting of the year with $1 million increase, having not budgeted it. And so we've already gone over budget before the year's even begun. And so that's a frustrating part for me as a commissioner, because we hold all of our department heads to a standard that they have to meet their budgetary and planning ahead. I understand that there are things that happen, but it seems to me that we need to start the process a lot sooner instead of getting caught on the last meeting of the year with insurance. And that's just a frustration. It's not directed necessarily at you, but it's maybe Willis Towers Watson and Shawnee County need to work on this and I understand maybe insurance companies don't want to give you a rate, or they don't want to commit to anything until the last minute, because they're looking at a market. What about Willis Towers Watson? Are you working with other municipalities in Kansas?
Yes.
Okay. And are you working with larger municipalities like Douglas County, Wyandotte, Johnson, Sedgwick?
To my knowledge, we're working with 2 smaller ones.
Okay. What about some of our other counties in Kansas, such as Douglas, Wyandotte? In speaking with you, one of the things that you expressed in our meeting was that the Shawnee County Department of Corrections was a major liability for a lot of the insurance carriers because we have a jail. They didn't want to have anything to do with Shawnee County. Douglas County has a comparable sized jail. Wyandotte County has a comparable sized jail. Sedgwick County has a comparable sized jail. In fact, all 3 of those may actually be larger than Shawnee counties. What about those counties? What are they doing?
I don't have intimate knowledge on those specifically. I think we're working on trying to figure out what they are doing. I can speak to municipalities across the country. We have a group, the division just works on municipalities. And my assumption is going to be, and I'm happy to report back first quarter or the next time I'm in front of you guys on what they're doing. I have contacts with all of them. And over the past 2 years, this has been a wave of issues that has hit the municipality business. So, and to discuss real quick the issue with the jail and so forth, we have tried to slice and peel this off and look at things much different ways. But it works in the county's benefit financially to package everything together and get the scale.
And I understand that we got maybe a better deal over the last 2 years when we pulled out from Travelers and went with the other company, and now that company is no longer an option for us, and so we're now going back to Travelers. But again, it would be nice to know what our other counties are doing. Are they using Travelers? Are they experiencing the same? And I just don't have that information. The information we have is, well, commissioners, this is your option. Take it or leave it.
Well, and Commissioners, I have not heard, I have put word out to three counties, and I have not heard. I called 2 of them and emailed one and left messages, and I have absolutely not heard back from any of them. And so I can't do any more than that. So.
Well, as the public information officer for the county, you have to maintain records when there's official requests made.
Right.
If people don't respond to us, we always have the ability to issue public information requests through the Freedom of Information Act, the same as any other public citizen would. And so,
Right.
and I think, again, I just don't like getting caught at the last minute, and I know that that's one of the reasons why you came to us in last Tuesday, when this became known that we were going to be looking at a doubling of our rates.
Right, but also we're not. I mean, I think we're not going to get rates from the insurance company. They're not going to give us a rate in March for the next year, because they don't know where we stand. We could have 2 buildings be completely lost. They could give us a quote, and we could have 2 buildings be completely gone before the end of the year.
But I think that if Willis Towers Watson has the capabilities that they say they have, they would be able to look at the market and say, commissioners, you should be looking at anticipating a doubling of your rates so that we build that into our budget. And the same as other department heads, when they say, hey, gasoline's going to be going up, we need a budget for gasoline. That's what we hold our public works director to. That's what we hold solid waste to, and so they make budget. And so, again, we're now in this position to where we don't have an option. We didn't build this into the budget, and we're now $1 million over budget.
So on that topic, we did know that Intact was ridiculously, or of quite a bit under. We knew we were going to go up. We just didn't know it was going to be quite this much. We were courting Travelers. We knew Travelers is a big player in this space for the state of Kansas and other surrounding Midwest groups. We just didn't know that they were going to go up quite that much. The underwriters, when we were speaking with them, like, we're definitely interested. And I think that even the underwriters, but they couldn't give us a number. They won't give us a number until about 35, 45 days prior to the renewal, even though they said that they were very interested, and they were.
And I think that, again, my frustration is when we hold the public budget hearings in July, I would invite you to come in July of 2023 to give us a personal presentation so that when we're building our budget, we can budget accordingly.
I would welcome that opportunity. The other thing I think we're going to implement from this is, I don't know how accurate this will be, but every quarter we're going to go out and say, okay, in this given situation or circumstance, what would you price it today? Now, in this case, had we done that in July, I don't think that we would have gotten the number that we have today. I think that it would have been drastically different. They would have given us, like they have been, I don't know, maybe 15, 30, 40% more. And I hate to say this, but I think that this has stabilized now, that we knew this little bubble, this big bubble was going to come up. We just didn't know it was going to be this large. And they won't know until they put it all. Insurance companies right now are highly, highly sophisticated when it comes to crunching numbers, and they know weather patterns, and they're looking at all these different things. So we know that is going on, and they're not going to implement those numbers. And every carrier is different. The amount of differences that we got in these carriers was very, very dramatically different in prices. So, and everybody changes as the year goes on. So it's really, really difficult, but one thing I can commit to you is we will take a survey of the 4 or 5 groups and just kind of get a feeling of what they're going to do. And we'll report that on a semi-annual or quarterly basis, whichever you guys would like to see, of what we're hearing from them.
So if we were to do that, let's say you were to come back in March or April and present to us something, let's just say maybe these rates come down. Do we have the option to trigger that at that time? I mean, if you get a quote from somebody and they say all of a sudden this is, if you were to buy it today, it's going to be less than what you're paying, do we have the ability to switch, or do we have to wait until January next year?
You always will have the ability to switch as you guys deem necessary. It becomes a little complicated with the work comp, but you have the ability to do that, of course. What my suspicion is that we're not going to see lower rates going forward. Inflation rates are still high. Cost of materials is still skyrocketing. I think on this one here, I think you're seeing a 20% increase on property values alone just because of inflation costs and cost of materials and labor. Everything's going up. And when I look at the economy and so forth, I don't see that going down. So I would like to be able to say that rates will go down, and I don't see it happening, but we will for sure take a look at that. The other thing I'll tell you is the only way to get absolute numbers and I don't think I'll be able to get that detailed without having a carrier price it out and structure it. And then because there's only such few of them doing that, I don't think the underwriters would do that unless they knew that they had an opportunity to take something at a better rate. And we don't even recommend marketing every year because you'll burn out the few people that you have interested in looking at it. So whenever we want to market the account, we want to make sure that we have underwriters ready. They know there's a good chance that it's going to be shopped and they have a chance of winning, or they won't go through that exercise too often.
Gotcha.
So what I'm proposing is like, hey, here's about where we're at. What do you see as the renewal looking at today? If you renew today, what are you guys seeing in municipalities in the state of Kansas?
Okay.
Do you guys look at our historic track record for claims?
We do.
I mean, we don't have hurricanes here, so
Correct.
and I feel like we're paying for hurricanes at this point, and
In a sense, I hate to say it, but we all are. Everybody's property, because remember, we're recommending you go to Travelers. Travelers goes to another insurance company they call a reinsurance company, and they take all that large numbers into consideration. So Ion did have an impact on your book, or on everybody's book. Your personal home, your personal auto, everything is going up in the last few years. And this is no different. And so hurricane has a little bit of an impact on that. The other thing that we are in the central part of the U.S. where we're seeing a lot of tornadoes and hail and stuff, all that has an impact. But, and essentially, the insurance law of large numbers, they do impact, or, we're all paying for that a little bit.
Commissioner Mays.
The other issue with municipalities is it's a pretty concentrated risk that's another reason it's tough for insurance companies. Everything's fairly concentrated.
Can we talk a minute about this new policy with Travelers? If I read the parameters or details of it correctly, which I'm not saying that I am, it would appear that we're going to be put into a position because of the deductible that we're never going to reach the threshold. On auto, on property, our deductibles are now so high that we're not going to be able to probably make any claims, and so we're now going to be paying out of pocket where we would have made claims previously. Is that accurate?
It is accurate the deductible is going up. The deductibles that we were able to get 2 years ago with Intact is way off the charts where other municipalities have of your size.
So let's talk about property. What is our property deductible now?
I believe the property deductible is up to $100,000.
But it currently is 10,000.
Oh, currently it is 10,000,
But it's going to,
10,000.
100,000.
so unless we have $100,000 of damage in property, we're not going to have a claim, right?
You won't have a claim that'll be your deductible, yes.
Right. So unless a tornado or earthquake hits Shawnee County, we're probably not going to be able to file a claim for insurance because we're not going to breach that $100,000. I hope we don't breach a $100,000 threshold, right? Whereas the elections office had their water leak. That qualified. We had hail damage. That qualified.
Yeah, and some of that's, there's the different coverages too for some of that stuff. Now, and just for the side, I do know for a fact that the city of Topeka has had a $100,000 deductible for their insurance for probably, I think, since I've been in office. They've always had a $100,000 deductible.
And that's fine, except I think that we need to get the word out to our department heads because now it's going to fall on the department heads to figure out how to fix it when the hailstorm comes through. Whereas before, we had the ability to file an insurance claim. And, I mean, our department heads probably don't know this today, that when the elections office has a water leak again, that's going to come out of their budget or a contingency or an emergency, but it's probably going to come out of their budget. What about auto?
Auto has gone from a no deductible to 25,000.
So, again, unless it's a catastrophic event, when we had a auto accident with a person who was driving the wrong way on an on-ramp and hit our vehicle and totaled it, we were able to file a claim. Now, we're probably not.
Well, except
In
we
that
only
situation,
have,
they
on our
would pay
autos,
it,
we
but-
only have, about half of our autos have full coverage. So we're only obligated to carry third-party liability on autos. That's by state law, that's all we're obligated to carry. And that up until, I would say maybe the last 4 years, when some of the departments started getting nicer, bigger, nicer vehicles, they chose to get full coverage. Otherwise, we don't have any coverage on our own vehicles at all. I mean, we have third-party liability. We cover the other person, but they've always had to cover their own.
Yeah, but
Are
we're
we not-
basically, if this was health insurance, we're going from being able to cover our annual checkups to now you're only covered if you have a heart attack.
Well,
That
but I would say,
happens
but
to
that's
folks,
the way it's,
but-
we've had our, I mean, like I said, up until just recently, within the last few years, we've not had we haven't had any kind of collision or anything on any of our vehicles. That's always been covered by the county. We've only carried the third-party liability. I mean, that's what we're obligated to carry.
But again, those are things that department heads need to be aware of so that they can be prepared and plan accordingly. And accidents will happen. I mean, as much as we don't want them, it's a fact of life that accidents will happen. Something will happen within the course of 2023. And I think that our department heads need to be aware. And so I would ask that when this gets approved, that we send an email out to all department heads, or make sure we sit down with department heads so that they're prepared.
I was under the impression that when we leased a vehicle from Enterprise, that we were mandated to have comprehensive coverage on those as part of the lease agreement. Is that not?
I don't know what the wording is on on their contract. Do you know?
So I mean, in 25,000, I mean, the vehicles that IT has are probably not worth 25,000. I mean, maybe around there, but I mean, it seems like the only thing that would be worth a claim are the big trucks and things that we use for public works.
Betty Griner, Director of Administrative Services. I believe under our contract with Enterprise, they have accepted our self-insurance.
Self-insurance, yeah.
So I believe our insurance is just the same as if we owned it, because technically, under those, it's a lease purchase, so technically, we do own the vehicle for that period of time, because it's a lease purchase. So I'm pretty sure they have accepted our self-insurance on those.
Okay.
That's like I said, and so unless they specifically ask to have full coverage on them, and we do have some vehicles that do have full coverage, but they're not, not all of them. We don't have them all covered. The majority of them are we just carry third-party liability.
Okay.
And that's been forever, and that's been the way it's always been.
Further questions? No.
Okay, please.
I'm Jan Mason from Willis Towers Watson. The $25,000 deductible is for the liability, so it is for the third-party liability. If you have physical damage on a vehicle, you have a $5,000.
It's 5,000, okay. That's on the full.
That's for
that
the
have
ones with full coverage,
okay.
yeah.
And that
Thank
went
you.
from,
Yeah.
that went from 3 to 5?
From 3 to 5.
3 to 5, okay.
Yeah.
The only other thing I would, and I think we spoke individually about this, is we are looking into other options. One of the things that my team has been doing lately is implementing and reviewing the options of doing a captive insurance, which is basically your own insurance company. And it's just another way to finance the whole thing. So we will come back to you guys later this quarter, next quarter, and give you a little bit more information on what a captive is, how to utilize it. I do know that a lot of other municipalities are going down this road. So it's something the size of this county is it's not quite enough where you can take like $1 million deductible, like a lot of other larger counties, and it's too big where you can't take too small of a deductible. So you're in that tweener spot, and it's possible that a captive could be a good solution for you guys.
Mr. Chairman, we don't really have, let's get down to brass tacks. We have to have insurance. We don't have but one option, so I would presume that we're going to approve this today. Whether we like it or not, we're going to approve it. But I would ask that maybe Willis Towers Watson plans on coming back to us by the middle of February. I know that's a little bit earlier than the end of the first quarter, to let us know what are the other counties doing, what are other municipalities doing, what are other options, and so that we can maybe have a regroup of where we're at and see if there's any other options that we may have available to us. Because we don't have an option December 29th for any other, our insurance expires in 2 days, 3 days, right? So we really don't have an option to look around right now. So we have to take action now, whether we like it or not. So-
We did find a couple of other options that were not nearly as viable as this one, right? We've had 2 other options, one on the auto and one on the property. But the market pricing is not commensurable.
Yeah, I would hope that you would be able to come back in February and give us good news instead of, hey, it could be worse.
Yeah.
So this is bad, but it could be worse. But maybe the middle of February, again, I'm not holding it to a specific date. I knew that maybe the new chair next year, whoever that may be, Bill.
Yep.
All right.
We'll set a date then.
Yeah. But I don't like it, but, I mean, I think that we have to approve it today.
Yeah, I don't think we have much of a choice. I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Mays, seconded by Commissioner Cook to approve the item. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you being here. Next item, please.
Item B, Parks and Recreation. Number 1, consider approval of request to reclassify a vacant Recreation Parks Supervisor Athletics to a management position, support specialist at a cost of $68,327.28 annually, including benefits.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tim Laurent, Parks and Recreation Department. So today, we are trying to reclassify this position. It is at the same level. It's not costing us any more than our current position. And to be quite honest with you, this should have happened some time ago. So it's really some housekeeping, trying to make sure that our staff have position descriptions that accurately reflect what they're doing. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Any questions?
I don't. I'll move for approval.
I'll second.
Okay, motion's been made by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Rippon. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 3-0.
Thank you. I failed to mention that we work very closely with HR on this, and they were a great help to us. So thank you for that, Angela.
All right, next item, please.
Item C, Information Technology. Number 1, consider approval of the request to purchase 2 Cisco Nexus switches, licensing and professional service through Logicalis, contract C411-2022, at a cost of $62,122.34 using state of Kansas pricing, to be funded using ARPA SLFRF funds.
Morning, Commissioners. Mark Price, Information Technology. This item is to replace 2 switches in our network. Why the amount seems really high, these 2 switches actually handle every piece of traffic that goes across our network. The existing switches were bought in 2015. They've served a good life. They're coming up at the end of life later in 2023. So I'm asking that we get this approved so we can get those replaced.
Questions for Mark? All right, I'll move approval.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Mays, seconded by Commissioner Rippon. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Next item.
Item C2, consider authorization and execution of contract C412-2022, purchase of annual licensing of Cisco SmartNet support for 11 core network switches through Logicalis, utilizing state of Kansas contract pricing at a cost of $8,681.04, with funding from the 2022 Information Technology budget.
Good morning, Commissioners. This is the annual renewal of our Cisco SmartNet support. This does cover the expiring 2 switches we just discussed, and it has been prorated to match that, but then it also supports all of our other core network switches we have throughout the county and various departments or various buildings like the jail, sheriff's office, this building, and we just ask that it gets approved.
Okay. Any questions? Okay, I'll move approval.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Mays, seconded by Commissioner Rippon. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Next item, please.
Item 3, consider approval of request to transfer $44,000 from the department budget to the professional services project budget.
Morning, Commissioners. This item is a budget transfer of some remaining budget funds we have in 2022. These funds would be used for different projects for professional services that would be brought forth in 2023 from various things of some professional services of Azure Consulting, which we're engaged in right now with Talon. This would be another contract with them. And then some other professional services for Microsoft server upgrades, and then some Microsoft server decommissioning that we'd like to do.
Questions?
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made by Commissioner Cook, second by Commissioner Rippon. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Next item, please.
Item 4, consider approval of request to transfer the remaining unencumbered balance from the department budget, including approximately $71,000, to an infrastructure project budget.
Morning, Commissioners. This is my final item of the day. This is to do a transfer of our unencumbered funds from 2022 to a project budget. The project budget will be used to do various infrastructure projects, mainly fiber moves, fiber relocations, and then data cabling. A majority of it will be done at the courthouse, and this will be used as we are moving our main data center to a new location and need to do quite a bit of work to make that happen.
Questions? I'll move for approval.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Mee, second by Commissioner Cook. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 3-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Next item, please.
Item D, Planning Department. Number 1, consider approval of request to create a special project fund and transfer the remainder of the unencumbered 2022 Planning Department budget to a special project fund for planning and zoning regulation updates.
Good morning, Commissioners. Joni Thadani, Director of the Planning Department. As the clerk mentioned, I was wanting to go ahead and create a special project fund and transfer the remainder of our unencumbered budget to transfer 22 to 23. What we would use these for is the updates for zoning regulations. We were in the process of updating our zoning regs that have been longstanding since early 2000s. That was in the process this year and got delayed with all of the transitions within my office. We hope to bring that back to the table this next year and want the ability to have meetings and if we have to print packets or advertising, things like that. Adding to that, we would also be working on some solar farm and wind farm regulations, and that could entail also advertising, sending out mailings to people, trying to get the public involved and get good comment on that. So we are looking at approximately $9,000 and would use as much of that as we could and any future 23 budget if necessary as well.
I would move for approval.
Okay.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Rippon, seconded by Commissioner Cook. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 3-0.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Item E, Facilities Management. Number 1, consider authorization and execution of contract C413-2022 with Guardian Lawn and Pest LLC, DBA Pest Master of Topeka for pest control services per contract and pricing sheet.
Good morning, Commissioners. Nelda Henning, Director of Facilities Management. We went out in November for an RFP. We received 3 bids. This is the lowest and I think a very good bid. I sent it out to all the departments, and the feedback I had was they felt it was good coverage. This would include 80 county locations, and in this contract, there's also an option for termite if a department decides to go that route. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? No? I'll move approval.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Mee, second by Commissioner Rippon. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 3-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Item F, Department of Corrections. Number 1, consider a request for emergency repair to an air separator for the HVAC system in the Adult Detention Center at a cost of $18,950 utilizing 2022 budget funds.
Good morning, Commissioners. Eve Kendall, Department of Corrections. Our building's getting older. Things are, failing here and there. This is just, this air separator actually works to make our chiller more efficient, takes the water out of the, the air out of the water system as it goes through the system. Just makes it more efficient and gives us a better, longer-lasting system. We'd like to be able to use our 22 budget instead of the 23 budget. And the reason why we've got this as an emergency purchase is because how long it's going to take to build the actual piece of equipment and then put it into our system. Right now, if you approve this request, we still won't be able to have it in our system and working until probably the end of March, 1st of April. So that is why we're asking for an emergency purchase, and I hope I'll stand here for any questions you might have.
Any questions?
I'll move for approval.
Okay, I'll second. Motion's been made by Commissioner Cook, second by Commissioner Mays. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 3-0.
Thank you.
Next item, please.
Item 5, public comment.
Is there any member of the public wishing to speak today? Seeing none, next item.
Item 6, administrative communications.
Any administrative communications? There's one.
Good morning, Commissioner. Bill Sutton, Shawnee County Solid Waste. I just would like to remind the commission and the general public who are watching that this Saturday we're trying something new down at the Starkville Event Center. We're doing a cardboard-only recycling event from 8 until 11. We're going to have 3 of our rear load trucks out there. So if residents would like to drop off their bulk cardboard left over from the holidays, just come on down to the event center. We'll be there, like I said, for 2 hours or until the trucks are full. So if we have a huge demand and we fill up our trucks, the MRF is not opening on Saturday, so we have no choice but to park everything. So come on down, come early, and we'll see you down there. Thank you.
All right, appreciate it, Bill. Anyone else? All right, Commissioner Rippon?
Well, if you turned your TV off early last night, you missed an exciting finish for the KU Arkansas football game. I remember seeing a better ending in a long time. Well, not better ending. Let me rephrase that. A more exciting game. Though my hat's off to KU. They did a admirable job, and they represented the Big 12 very well. So.
Yeah, it's a shame it didn't go the other direction,
It is.
but still quite a game. Miraculous comeback. So.
Might just note what a difference a week makes. Last week we were at negative 43 wind chill. Today we're going to be at a high of maybe 61. So what a difference a week makes, but just please plan accordingly. Weather changes rapidly.
Yeah. Well, I want to wish everybody a happy new year and a safe happy new year at that. So I do hope that the solid waste recycling event is successful at the Stormont-Vail Event Center. It's sort of a trial run, and so I hope everybody takes advantage of it and makes it out to get their cardboard recycled. So anyway, that's all I've got. Next item, please.
Item 7, executive.
Commissioner Mays, is there a meeting on Monday?
No meeting on Monday. No meeting on Monday. Our next meeting will be Thursday, and then the following Monday, I believe, is the 9th, and that will be our reorganizational meeting.
Oath of office, we'll be doing the oath of office for the Commissioner Rippon over here
That would be on the 9th, or,
The 9th.
on the 9th.
okay,
That
so on the
one.
9th, Commissioner Rippon becomes official for the second time,
Yeah.
so look forward to that.
So that'll be, yeah.
All right, next item, please.
Item 7, executive session.
We do not have a need for executive session today, so we are adjourned.